Welcome back to the Stack and Strength podcast, where we explore the principles of proof of work, personal sovereignty, long term thinking, and building strength in every area of life. Today, I'm joined by someone who's become a very respected voice in the Bitcoin space through his work as a podcaster, author, entrepreneur, and educator. Robin Seyr has spent years speaking with some of the most interesting minds in Bitcoin, exploring not only the technology and economics behind it, but also the deeper questions around freedom, responsibility, human behavior, and the future of society. He's also the co-founder of MicroSeed, a company that is focused on helping Bitcoiners take one of the most important steps in their journey, which is protecting their private keys and taking genuine responsibility for their wealth. Now, what makes Robin's perspective particularly valuable is that he sits at a cusp or the intersection of Bitcoin education, content creation, entrepreneurship, and self custody. He understands that buying Bitcoin is only just the beginning, but the real journey is learning how to secure it long term, protect it, and potentially maybe pass it on to the next generation. And today we will unpack all the biggest lessons that Robin has learned through his countless conversations, the realities and responsibilities of self custody, the creation of microseed, and what Bitcoin can teach us about discipline, sovereignty, and building a stronger future. Robin, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on my show. Welcome to the Stack and Strength podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much. What a lovely intro. Yeah, I'm doing really good. Just came back from Prague, and it was one heck of a conference. So many things going on, and it was actually interesting because people say there's a bear market, and now we have a slight uptick, but it actually doesn't feel like a bear market. We still have so many builders, so many people in Bitcoin space that want to do something, that want to explore something, build the infrastructure, the ecosystem around Bitcoin, and do something positive for the world. So I think it's the best bear market ever. And yeah, it's a really good one.
The sentiment is pretty bearish, right? We are at extreme fear of, I don't know, 11, 9, 8, doesn't matter. There's a lot of doom and gloom, but I'm like so happy that it's at these levels right now. I mean, I would be really happy if it's even dips down to further levels, right? Like all the tourists, I really want all the tourists to get out. Like if those who understand it, they will stay anywhere, like yourself and countless other people. And cheaper sats for everyone. I mean, how is that a bad trade in any angle, right? And bear market, yes, technically, yeah, we're 50% down now from the all-time high, but Bitcoin is known to do. We can go further down. I do think we will. Robin, we will start off from having a discussion on all the lessons that you've learned from hundreds of Bitcoin interviews that you've done, right? Your podcasts have accumulated, I think, over 700 episodes. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you have hundreds of guests giving you an unusually broad view of Bitcoin's personalities, arguments, and developing narratives, right? Now, after hundreds of these conversations, what do the smartest Bitcoiners consistently agree on? What important Bitcoin issue remains deeply misunderstood, even within the Bitcoin community?
I think so first on, like just touching really briefly on the thing that you touched on the market, because I think it's interesting. We have a hard core on Bitcoin. We have the people that are active in the community, that listen to a lot of podcasts, that do podcasting, that write articles, that are active in the community. Those are the ones that just DCA in the Bitcoin. Those are the ones that just like are very strong in the Bitcoin. But actually, the most of the money comes from the people that are tourists, the traders, the speculators, the TradFi, the people that rotate money in and out, in and out, in and out, just to make something on the margin. This will change now a little bit. We have the institutional adoption with like BlackRock and strategy and all of those things, where this might actually change in the long run over the next years. But we have a lot of tourists that set the price. And that's why when it goes down, it feels so bearish, because all the tourists are bearish. It's just like a very small, hard core that stays strong no matter what. And that hard core keeps on growing. And that's why you see we fall to higher and higher levels. So it was in 2017, we went up to 20K, we fell down to, in 2018, I think like 3K, 4K or something like that. Now we only fall down to what, 59K was the lowest up until this recording. Maybe we go lower, maybe we don't, I don't know. But the one thing that is true is that the core personalities, the core people that actually understand Bitcoin, keeps on growing. And then for the next bull run, we need the tourists again. The tourists will come in because they see Bitcoin going up from, let's say, 70 to 100K. And they're like, some more tourists are like, oh, I want to get in because we're not even touching the all-time high. And like, I can make some 10, 20%. Then you go up to like 150K and like, people are like, oh, wow, that is really performing good. It's
mm,
the same reason why everyone is now buying Nvidia stock, but it's at the
mm,
pinnacle. It's the highest. I think it's right now actually the most valuable company on planet Earth. Never buy the most valuable company on planet Earth. It's always a bad idea because it doesn't has
mm,
a lot of room to grow. The only room it has to grow is the inflation rate. So it's like it can still outrun inflation a little bit. But
mm,
honestly, it's even that is hard because if you're number one, there's only one way to go, and it's down. And so I rather invest in something like Bitcoin that has still a 10x, a 100x, a 200x to grow. And
mm,
so stay strong, people. The tourists will come back. The retail FOMO will come
mm,
back. The institutional adoption is just getting started. We just paved the roads. We just built the gas stations. We just built all the infrastructure around Bitcoin, and all those things will pay off in the long run. Now
That's
you
an
asked me
excellent.
to, yeah, like but you asked me two other questions. I think the first question that you asked me was like, what is the one thing that Bitcoiners agree on? And
Yeah.
I'll I'll define Bitcoiner as the hardcore Bitcoiner group, because if you put in all the Bitcoiners that are also included in the tourists, which you can also say they also have Bitcoin, they also
Mm,
are here, they are also Bitcoiner. I think if you if you do that, then we don't agree on
yeah.
anything. Yeah, like what is the hardcore, like the guests that
Yeah.
on my podcast, like they don't agree on, and even that is very hard because
Mm,
there's so many disagreements in Bitcoin. There's so many different perspectives on Bitcoin. There are people that say Bitcoin is poised to be money and it will be a
mm,
currency, it will be immediate exchange, unit of account, all of that. There are people that say that will never happen. Like both of them are in Bitcoin and they're both a Bitcoiner. And there are
mm,
people that say, hey, self-custody is really important. Running your own node is really important. There are people that say, yeah, I don't think it's that important. Other people can do it.
mm. Right.
So like in every single topic, after talking with over 600 different people around 800 different episodes, there are different perspectives on literally every single topic. But there are some commonalities, and I've summarized them in three main points, and kind of ask myself like, what do you actually have from Bitcoin? What do you as an individual get from Bitcoin? And most people, I think, would agree with those 3 points. The first point is the number go up technology. It makes me rich. It makes me more wealthy. And if you
Mm,
are a person that has Bitcoin for 5, 10, 15 years, you will get wealthier over time. So no matter if that's now, if you believe maybe Bitcoin has a CAGR, so an annual growth rate of 15% or 25% or 40%, it does not really matter. You all Bitcoiners that really believe in Bitcoin believe that it will go up over a long period of time. I haven't met a single Bitcoiner that said, yeah, I think it will go down. Like not a single Bitcoiner, because if he would believe that, he wouldn't be in Bitcoin. Then the
mm,
second point is already a little bit more controversial, but it's also a fact. It's you get the freedom out of Bitcoin. It's the freedom aspect of Bitcoin. And some people might not care about the freedom aspect of Bitcoin, but it is there. And everyone agrees on, if you hold
mm,
Bitcoin yourself in self custody, you hold the keys yourself, you have more freedom than a person that holds it on exchange, on iBit, or any of the other platforms. So if you hold Bitcoin yourself on a self custody wallet, on like you hold the keys yourself, and maybe even you run your own node, which would be amazing if you also do that. If you do those two things, you have the most amount of freedom that you could possibly have. And I want to stress this point because we never had that. Every single other asset, like the freedom, like the number go up, we also had that. You could have bought Nvidia 10 years ago and you would have
mm,
made a bunch of money. Similar than with Bitcoin. We had, we already have a digital payment network. Like that's not an innovation. We have PayPal, we have all those things. So the only real innovation that Bitcoin brings are digital property rights, that you have an asset that you can hold yourself and nobody can take it away from you. You can send it to anyone You don't even need, if I know your address, I don't even need your permission to send you money. You cannot do anything against that. People are sending Satoshi Nakamoto Bitcoin, which is crazy. Like it's, you cannot, it's the biggest property right that we ever had. Someone could put a gun to your head and you still have all the option in yourself. Now he can still kill you, but it's your decision if you can give Bitcoin away or not. And those
Mm,
property rights are the ones that will change the world. It's not that we can transfer Bitcoin from here to Australia, to America, to Japan in seconds and it's perfect. Like that's not the real innovation. That's amazing that it's also happening on Bitcoin, and I'm very much in for like spending your Bitcoin, but it's not the real innovation. The real innovation is you take self custody, nobody can
mm,
take it away from you, and you kind of care a little less what the world around you does and says and yeah, does and says. Now, the third aspect of Bitcoin is the one that I'm extremely bullish on, but it's the one that is the hardest. It's the community aspect, the mindset aspect, the culture aspect, the consensus layer of kind of Bitcoin. And so if you are someone into Bitcoin and
mm,
you get why Bitcoin will go up with 20, 30, 40% per year for the next 10 years, and you get what freedom aspects you get for Bitcoin, and you know you need self custody, you need to run your own node, then you might actually be in a really good position to say, hey, I also want to go to meetups. I also want to go to conferences.
mm,
I also want to be part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, the Bitcoin social layer. And if you do that, you will gain not only all the other aspects, benefits from Bitcoin, but you also gain the benefits from the other people that benefit from it. Imagine you meet the early Facebook team
mm,
that worked on Facebook, the first like 10 founders, the 10 first people that worked on Facebook, and you get
mm,
into a friends group with them. And all of a sudden you're friends with those 10 people and you work on a project,
yeah.
you're doing things for that. That will impact your wealth even more than you just buying Facebook stock really early on, because you not only gain the number go up and the the uprise of the price, but you also gain all the insights and the knowledge and the mindset of those people. And you all of a sudden also have a really strong network of people. And so if you get Bitcoin from the freedom aspect, you get Bitcoin why it's great for the wealth aspect, you should somehow interact with the social layer of Bitcoin, because it's a very special group of people. And if you know a lot of other Bitcoiners, we can form those strong connections and we can fight for the future together. And so just think about, if you have to believe that Bitcoin goes to $2 million
Mm,
and you hold a bunch of Bitcoin, don't you want to also know other people that hold a bunch of Bitcoin and will even
mm,
be more wealthy as a group and build really cool things together in the future, build companies together in the future, build citadels in the future, build all those ventures in the future together? Because if you want to be fast, you can go alone. But if you
mm.
want to go far, you have to go together. And so I really strongly believe in the social layer of Bitcoin, in connecting yourself there. So this is the three things that I think you gain from Bitcoin. And I don't think any Bitcoiner that is honest to himself can disagree with that. That's
No.
my biggest thing. There was a third question. I forgot it.
Yeah, I'll remind you about that question. But those were really super awesome points, man. And I get it, right? That journey, the journey of buying Bitcoin, self custodying Bitcoin, running a node, it is that itself is your maturity in the Bitcoin landscape. Is what if I would like to take that from my personal example. I first came and touch or to know about Bitcoin and did some things in Bitcoin in 2014. But I would have wished that I would have actually did that kind of due diligence that I did much later at that point of time. But obviously everyone has that kind of story, right? Like everybody has that learning part. And then it was 2020. For me, it was 2020. And I self-custodied pretty early on, not with the best devices, I would say, and I would not want to name any company, but that was what I knew at that time. And the progression happened much later when I delved further into the wallets, the security, air gap, and all that stuff. Running a node came to me much later. And for me to even understand that part, a lot of thing was very technical, but obviously it was Satoshi's original vision anyway, that everybody runs a node, we all make it as decentralized as possible. But to a normal person or someone who is really new or just wants to understand it, this gets very technical, right? They have to go through their own journey. As you said, the number go up is what gets people on board. Really love that jug, man.
It's a 1 liter, but yeah, it's
Well,
I love it. I have it.
sorry.
I have it since of and soon in September 9 years on my desk. So
Wow.
it's a very low time preference thing to get.
No, pretty handy. Pretty handy.
Yeah, I got it to my 18th birthday from a good friend of mine, and since then I'm like, oh yeah, like that's actually really cool to look have
Yeah.
on the table and like drink water from. And
Mm.
I'm soon getting 27 in September.
Okay.
Oh gosh, no,
Happy birthday in advance.
I'm 27. I get 28. I'm so stupid. I don't even know how old I am. And so like this will be soon 10 years old and
Mm.
soon 10 years on my desk. So yeah, get it 1 liter Bitcoin Stein and drink from it every day, at
That is
least 2 glasses of that, and you're hydrated for the
That's
day.
it. No, that's actually good, man. Sorry, I got distracted by that, like a little child at a candy store. But it's actually a very good habit because just even giving an example to someone, if you're not able to drink a lot of water, have some kind of a jug or a shaker or something like that, which you know that this is 1 liter or this is 2 liter, whatever you could carry, and then make sure you have one or two or one and a half that you can have during the day. Then at the end of the day, you know, okay, I've had this much water today, so that will keep you hydrated. If you have that kind of a mug on your desk, you know that's a 1 liter water, and you're gonna smash that anyway. And then you're like, okay, that's really good thing. Yeah, coming back from the distraction. Sorry about that. What I asked was, what do you think? If is there any important Bitcoin issue that remains deeply misunderstood, even within the Bitcoin community, the deep hardcore Bitcoin community?
There might be very controversial, but I'll say it anyways. I'll start with that. I just
Mhm.
gave a presentation in Prague, and I talked about the infrastructure a lot. I've talked about in an example of the car, and you can make that example with every single technology we ever had. But I think the car is a very fun one that everyone understands. In 8086, the first car came around. And it
Mhm.
was there. This was a good car. It was very slow. It was like 16 kilometers per hour. It was only driving about 40 kilometers in the for a range. So it was not a good car. But it developed quite fast. In 1901, the car was already around, I think, 111 kilometers per hour, and also in between those two, like a lot of like iterations came. But what was interesting for me was to see that in the first 15 years there was almost no adoption of the car. Some people
Mm.
got it, but it was not fast. It took a very long time. And this was not because of the core technology of the car. It was not because the engine was too slow or the car was not good enough or it didn't have AC, didn't have a
Mm.
roof and all of those things. It was actually because of the infrastructure. If you think about you driving from, let's say, Prague to Vienna with a car, you don't, and let's say you drive from Vienna to Prague with the car.
Mm.
It's super easy. You just drive there. Even if the range is not good enough, you just gas up. The roads are paved and all of those things. But at first, this was not the case. The roads were not paved. They were not straight. And so you had the roads that were made for horses and for horse carriages. So they were muddy and they were
Mm.
grippy, perfect for the horse, but horrible for a car. We didn't had gas
Mm.
stations because a horse did not need gas stations. We did not had mechanics because a horse needs very different mechanics than a car needs. We didn't have the supply chain built up
Mm.
for developing the car. And the same way I think about Bitcoin. We
Mm.
now needed 15 years to build out a strong core technology. We have Bitcoin, the consensus rules. We have the nodes, the full nodes that operate. We have the miners. This is kind of the core technology of Bitcoin. But then we have the ecosystem around Bitcoin. We have all the wallets, the exchanges, the Lightning, the layer twos, the layer threes, Fediments, and all of those things. And we also have now the institutional adoption. We have the strategy, the ETFs, the BlackRocks, all of those things. And this is actually the part that still sucks. I'm going to be very honest. It's if you're in Bitcoin, Bitcoin itself is amazing and it's perfect and it will look almost the same in 10 years and in 15 years and in 200 years, most likely. There will come small changes here and there. Obviously, as technology advances, we have to probably change here and there small things at the core technology, but 98% of it will stay the same way as Bitcoin barely changed in the last 10 years. Yes, there has been soft forks, there have been upgrades to Bitcoin. There's like it changed a little bit, but like 98% is still the same. The core technology is still the same. And so what really changes and what really brings in not a $1 trillion asset, but like a 200, 400, $500 trillion asset is the ecosystem around it. Because if you think about where is the money today, it sits in a lot of different places, like a lot of different places. We could make probably like a 20-hour podcast just in talking about all the different categories of assets and who controls the money. Like most people are not aware of like who actually controls money. Banks control most of the money,
Yeah.
advisories and individual high net worth individuals that control a lot of the money. Companies control a lot of the money. Institutions, like it's not just us retailers saying, "Oh yeah, I want to buy this amount of Bitcoin." It's actually a lot of companies and institutions and those rails that like control most of the money in the world. And so it's like it's not that easy to say, "Yeah, we just spin up a few podcasts, educate the people, and over time people get it." Probably not. We podcasters are here for the retail crowd for them to be able to front run all the institution. But for us, our work is more like getting the right people early in and educating them that actually want to be educated. But we are not
Yeah.
moving the needle in terms of price. Not at all. I find it so
Nowhere near
funny.
it.
Nowhere
Yeah.
near. Like even if you combine all Bitcoin podcasts together and the strength of them
Yeah.
together, we are not moving the needle whatsoever. Because the real money is not in the retail crowd. The real money is in the institutional crowd. And that might actually be misunderstood or misrepresented opinion in Bitcoin that if we want Bitcoin to go from 60, 70K to 600K to 6 million to 60 million, we need the institutional adoption. We need the game theory of companies buying it, institutional people buying, advisories advising to buy Bitcoin. This is where the real money is. This is where we go going from a $1 to $2 trillion asset to a 200 to $400 trillion asset, which is a huge difference. That's how I told you in the beginning. That's how you get from an asset that goes up a little bit to an asset that goes up 100x, 100 trillion, 200 trillion, probably like a 200x from here, because you need those big money pools to actually gain into Bitcoin. And that's why if people yell at BlackRock being into the space, at strategy being in the space, the only thing I'm telling myself is like, yeah, we can exclude them. We actually can't, but let's say we could exclude them, which would be ridiculous because Bitcoin is not permission, so it's permissionless. So everyone can buy it. So also your worst enemy can buy Bitcoin and it's a good thing, not a bad thing. But let's say we could exclude them. Bitcoin will never reach a market cap of higher than like maybe $4 trillion, maybe. And that's already like kind of probably we actually go down and never reach back up to a $1 trillion asset because retail does not have a lot of money. Most of the money, even if it's owned by retail, it's actually controlled by banks, it's actually controlled by advisories. It's fascinating. People like us are very rare that we just like fuck banks, fuck advisories, fuck all those like institutions and we just take the things in our own hands. This is not the majority of people. The majority of people has money and they have some bank advisor and they are not doing anything without that advisor saying so. They have some BlackRock guy and they just like are happy to get 5% a year, 7% a year, 10% a year in performance. And that's it. And they will never watch this podcast and say, okay, I'm going out of this BlackRock thing that I trust since forever. And
Yeah.
because this weird guy on the internet tells me to buy Bitcoin, I'm going
Mm.
to do that now. So
Yeah.
I don't want to talk my own work small, but if you really think about who's gonna move the needle for Bitcoin price, it's not gonna be a few podcasters on Bitcoin Twitter and Bitcoin YouTube. They're like saying like buy Bitcoin DCA. Like it, there are very big and very strong institutions that
Mm,
will get Bitcoin and they will move the needle. And actually, funny enough, with them adopting Bitcoin, they will get weaker. And so that's the whole game theory around Bitcoin. And sounds like I'm like embracing those institutions and making them big. But actually, with
mm,
that, with them adopting Bitcoin, with them getting into Bitcoin, they are making themselves weaker over time because people get it and people have that Bitcoin ecosystem in them. And we have self custody running your own node. And so that's why
mm,
I think Jeff Proof's message is amazing. And I want to credit him for that because he always says if Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, that's the keyword.
the
If
keyword.
Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, it will be
Mm,
successful no matter what.
yeah.
That's if it doesn't do that, it will fail and will go to zero and will all implode. If it stays decentralized and secure, it's just a matter of time till it will take over the world in a way that we cannot comprehend. One more small example that I want to put in there is think about put yourself in the shoes of a horse salesman in 8086 and you just witnessed the invention of the car and you're like
Mm,
the car is 1/4 of the speed of my horse. Why would I adopt it?
yeah.
And then like you try to imagine like how far this technology might go. Like,
Mm,
I don't know, maybe it goes not 16 kilometer per hour, but like 50, maybe it goes to 70 or something like that. You could
yeah.
never imagine that that car has AC, has
Mm,
a roof over the head. There are people sleeping in that car. People are
mhm,
camping in cars these days. The
yeah.
car is driving not 16 kilometer per hours, but 531 kilometer per hours. I think it's the Koenigsegg
Mm,
that is like super fast. The car now can freaking drive itself.
yeah.
How think about the horse salesman or the first even car inventor. Do you think he predicted that the car will
Mm,
drive itself from A to B? Like, no way. Like that
yeah.
was he probably would have called you a witch if you would have said that.
Yeah.
So we trying to think like, what is Bitcoin? Like, how will it be
Mm,
adopted? It will be adopted in like 100,000 different ways from billions of different people, and institutions and companies will be a part of that if you want or not. And it's actually a good thing for you because they are gonna pump your back still 1 million and 2 million and 50 million.
that is a very nice way to put it like that. And just to add on to a couple of things that you mentioned in right now. First, I had this conversation. I was talking to a couple of people, and I was trying to orange pill my way in. And during this, one of them said, "So, what's your?" One of the persons asked me, "What is your commission on Bitcoin?" And I was like, "Hey." Okay, you're totally taking this. It's there is no company, there is no share. I'm not working as a salesman for Bitcoin. I've not been employed by it. I'm only trying to tell you or teach you something. You will go home and do your due diligence and research. I'm not going to send you anything, or you're not going to go and buy stuff through me. I'm just giving you all the information, and I'm going to tell you where you can find more information. I am not even a micro drop in that ocean. So Bitcoin doesn't have a CEO or a board of directors or shareholders that nobody's going to give anyone, you know, referral opportunities, stuff like that. So it just reminded me of that when you mentioned coming back to your car analogy that you mentioned in your speech. So when Henry Ford had developed the car, he was told that this would fail. No one would want to buy a car. We would just get a faster horse. And that was the response, most of the response that he got. Like, why would we want to buy this thing? I'm just going to get a better horse, right? People did not have that kind of foresight, as you mentioned, the level of technological increase, the exponential increase that's happened over this century. Now we have autonomous driving. And I think maybe 50 years down the line, we'll have flying cars. They're probably already experimenting on it. So maybe not even that long. When internet came on board for the common people, they said internet is a fad. Nobody's going to use emails. The postal services said nobody's going to use emails. Everybody loves to have postal letters. And it was actually a newspaper article saying that internet is scam. And no, they said emails won't work. But can we live without the internet? Can anyone today just imagine that they have a phone in their pocket or a computer or laptop, but they don't have the internet. It's you and I are having this conversation. We won't be able to have this conversation. So it's very, I think that was a point, that's such a good point that you put in, because it's very difficult to actually imagine how Bitcoin can become the base layer of money or what all things can happen on top of it. Right. And to get to that level of understanding, again, people have to go and read and listen and understand, right? And you're absolutely right there. Retail is not going to bring in the money. It's institutions, companies, nation states, sovereign wealth funds, whoever has the capacity to move the needle at that level. Thanks for those wonderful points. Robin, there's a huge gap between buying Bitcoin and securing it. Microseed describes its mission as encouraging Bitcoin self custody. Sorry, beginning with durable seed phrase protection. The product is designed to record a seed phrase on a small washer in a titanium format or stainless steel rather than relying on a paper or larger backup plates, right? Why do so many people who buy Bitcoin, they postpone learning self custody? What usually do you think causes the greater loss? Is it the just ordinary human negligence or just sophisticated hacking? And at what point should someone move their Bitcoin away from an exchange? What is your viewpoint there? When should they take the custody in their hands?
It's probably the same point as you actually we kind of mentioned before. The people did not wanted to have a car; they wanted to have a faster horse. So if you would have asked people like they want to have a faster horse, not a faster car, and so
Mm,
it's really hard to imagine a new system within the old system. And it's only the people that get that Bitcoin is a whole new system that takes self custody. People that still think that Bitcoin is an improvement within the old system, they don't take self custody because they keep it on exchange, because they also keep the stocks on exchange, because you can only keep the stocks on exchange. They keep their money on a bank and all of those things. So they treat Bitcoin as if it would be a an improvement within the old system. It's only at the moment when you get that Bitcoin is a new system that can't fit in the old system, where people go and say, "Oh, I need to take that out of the old system. I have to take it in my
mm,
own hands and care for my Bitcoin myself." I think that understanding is the key pinnacle of when people actually take self custody. That's all. I haven't met a person that understood Bitcoin deeply, that Bitcoin is a new system that has nothing to do with the old system. There's a whole new generation, whole new system, and whole new infrastructure and ecosystem that still did not take self custody. Like, if you
mm,
understand it's a new system and you cannot do anything in the old system, you understand it's Bitcoin. And so that's, I think, the main reason. But what's the
mm,
underlying reason? It's laziness. It's maybe even arrogance. It's like, oh, I don't need that. It's false security. It's thinking that this all will survive, and it
mm,
might. Who knows, like how it develops. So you might not be screwed in the old system with having some Bitcoin in the short run,
mm,
but in the long run, you kind of have to adopt in that new way, and there will be ecosystem around it. So there's like parts of that's what kind of the ecosystem I'm talking about. There's certain degrees of self custody. If you have all the keys yourself, you have some multisig, you have the microseeds, you have all those things, and you do it yourself, you are the most secure ever if you
mm,
do it right. Then there's like collaborative custody, where you hold maybe two keys and someone else was holding one key and is helping you around that. There are other mechanisms how you can do self custody in a way that where you have some support along the way with services, with people helping you, and with educational material. And so there's not this like you have self custody or not. It's more like, to what degree do you have self custody? And so this is the ecosystem that I personally think that has to develop a lot in order for us to thrive in the long run. But if you just have a bank account and they offer Bitcoin and you just buy it there and that's it, you haven't understood that
mm.
Bitcoin is a new system and you have to move out of that old system in order to take full advantage of what Bitcoin can offer you.
100%. I also tell them that, what do you want to do with that Bitcoin being on the exchange, or amount of whatever amount of sats you have on that exchange, are you a person who's going to trade it when the number goes up, or do you want to hold it long term? If the answer is holding it long term, then why would you trust on the exchange? Why would you not hold it in your account? Do you give your bank account passwords to someone else? Do you give your email account passwords to someone else? No. So it's the same concept, because it's happened in the past. And I give them the example. It's happened in the past. It can happen in the future. It's happened with me when FTX collapsed. I had some assets in there when Celsius collapsed, when BlockFi collapsed, and that was a learning, because here you are, you're watching on the screen on your app that, yep, it's in there. And the next moment, you can't log in. And that's what happens. If they shut down, the exchange is shut down, guys, you would not be able to log into your account. So forget about withdrawing the asset. You can't even get into your account and see what you're holding, right? So you do not want to trust a third party with that. So absolutely, regardless of the amount. And I think a big problem comes in, you think that, oh, it's just $500 or it's $1,000. That's because you're thinking in today's terms and in dollar value. You're not actually, you need, if you start thinking in sats, or the number of sats that could potentially go up in the future, the value that it could go up in the future, that's what you want to think in, rather than the existing fiat value. And this is what's causing that confusion. Robbins, if you want to talk to someone and you explain to someone about having a Bitcoin backup, right? Is it something like, and if you want to explain like having like a Bitcoin backup audit, right? So you tell them, okay, like, do you control the keys? Is a seed stored offline? Can the backup survive fire, water, accidental damage? And have you tested the recovery process, right? Could a person recover the Bitcoin if they died? Or could, even worse, if they died, could their family members, their spouse, their partner, their kids, do they get access to it, right? And I know there are companies, there are many organized, like, there are many people who do this, but do you get across these on regular basis when you talk to people in a normal life? Obviously, Bitcoiners know about all that, but just non-Bitcoiners as such.
It's such a important topic because if you think about it, you have to build up everything from scratch. We know how to do it with bank accounts or with stocks or something like that. And so if you have stocks and you have a bank account and all of those things, there are systems in place for a very long time. There are infrastructure, there are laws, there's all of those things that make it very clear on how those things will progress. But it's less clear to me, and it's less clear to most people, how we do all those things that we did in the old system in the new system. And that's why I say the infrastructure has to develop, the ecosystem has to develop. We need services, we need the products, we need all of those things to get towards people. We have a lot of work in front of us. It's not gonna be quick, it's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be amazing because once we have that sweep of services, products, ecosystems, all of those things around Bitcoin where you can do everything, it makes the whole process a lot easier. So also maybe another message for people that listen to that, don't only be in Bitcoin exposed to get the number crop technology, don't only have self-custody and run your own node to get the freedom aspect, not only doing the articles, the podcast, to being in the social layer, but actually consider being a builder in the space because there's a lot of money to be made. There's so many opportunities, so many things that you can do to provide value, to provide services, products, and all of those things inside the Bitcoin ecosystem because it just starts on building now. And there are probably 50 different ideas that I have for other people to start a better product or services in that space. There's a lot of things to do. And so if you want to be as exposed to Bitcoin as possible and you already do self-custody, you're already going to meetups and conferences, why not start building in the Bitcoin space? Why don't you start actually doing something? And I asked myself this question last year and I was like, okay, I'm a podcaster. I'm in the social layer of Bitcoin, but I wasn't a builder. And so I met Daniel, a good friend of mine, and we co-founded together Microseed, and we started building. And I might actually, I'm in process of doing that, so I can't say anything right now, but I'm in the process of being a builder in a second company and being there also an equity holder and holder of the business and building that out in the long run. So my focus right now is how can I build in the Bitcoin space, not just talk about
Mm,
Bitcoin, not just educate in the Bitcoin space, but actually build the products, the systems, the rails. Like I want to be the guy that paves the roads, that
mm,
is operates the gas stations, that has the supply chain, has the mechanics and all of those things for the car, but now just
mm.
for Bitcoin. And so
Yeah.
building in the space is very important. And if you listen to this and you do all those things, consider building in the space because there's a lot of things to build.
That's a really good point. Providing value to the space while it's at its infancy. I mean, maybe not infancy, maybe toddler stage. But yes, that's amazing. Talking about that, a microseed is an excellent product, guys. And I'm not just saying that because Robin's on my show. I do have microseed. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, I'm not going to do a demo here, but because there are multiple videos of that. But why I say that is because previously, if I would have to store a seed phrase, I would have to, and and there's no problem with that. They're also like fireproof, waterproof, all that, but they're just a bit bulky to carry around. So you have like metal plates where you put in your seed phrases, right? In with microseed, you can pretty much I still have these things. You can put it like in this washer, like literally you can get a washer from your warehouse, like Bunnings or Bunnings is here, but any warehouse you get the standard washer. And you could just put in there and you could just carry it like, put it on your necklace. It will look like a jewelry. And they also have the nylon one. And that could pass through airports without any buzzing or beeping. So you can carry across countries or continents any amount of Bitcoin if you hold without being questioned or stopped. So yeah, this is amazing. Although I do have to admit that I haven't. I just have made some. Like I haven't really gone because it takes a bit of time for me, like to do that. And the first time when I'm hitting with the hammer, I think I used too much force with the hammer, and then I made a dent. And then I saw another video. I think was it you and Daniel, or I think you were with Sean, and there was just that perfect tap that has to be given. And when I did that, I'm like, oh, sweet. This is just you're not really banging a nail into wood. You just have to really give a small tap. Very good product, man. Excellent. Amazing, amazing guys. So check out Microseed guys, if you want to have your, self custody advanced to another level. You will love it. It takes time, but definitely love it.
Really cool. And I actually we will just launch. So when this comes out, maybe we already launched because we don't from the microseeds that you have, we don't have a lot left actually. I think we have like 5 left, so they could be gone any minute.
Oh,
But we have a new version ready that will come in July out. So I don't know if this drops in June or July, but like in July we'll have the new version out, and it improves on all those things that we got feedback on, and it's gonna be way more cost efficient for us to make. So we'll drop the price significantly, not just for the US, but for the whole world. And so I'm really excited about that because it's now not only the best product I think in for exactly that, but it's gonna be also the most cost efficient way of stamping your seed phrase in the long run. It's like
mm,
because the price is still a little like high compared to like the competitors. In the
mm,
long run, you probably still end up good with the microseed because you buy it once, you can just exchange the washers. You don't have to
mm.
rebuy the blades, which can cost you a lot of money over the long run. But yeah, I'm really excited. Like in July, there's a new thing coming up. I'll send you one, John. It will be. I think it will be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to like July, August, September when the new thing launches because it's just I don't know, it's just like 10 times better than what we already have
Yeah.
now. And I already love like you even have a new version. You have the new version with like the black one. I have the
Yeah.
really old
Oh,
version.
yeah, the
That was the
OG.
first microseed that we kind of got out.
Yeah.
It's even bulkier and even
Yep.
bigger
Yep.
here. So we
Yep.
improved already with your version, but the next version will be a lot more lightweight, a lot easier to carry, and a lot more cost efficient to like produce. And same quality, actually better quality in my opinion, and just like the same mechanism. So, and also, you have the problem of when you like punch on there and you don't remember to click the thing next, and then you punch again on one thing, and you kind of
Mm,
like, did I already click or not? the new version completely solves this problem where you can exactly
Oh,
see
wow.
if you are already clicked or not. And so there's a lot of like, I don't want to go into details, but there's a bunch of new things, and I'm super excited about it. But I'll shut up now.
That is super cool, and that's actually a very good one. If it makes it that seamless, then the user experience would be much better. So awesome, man. Amazing. That yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, congratulations on the new one.
I hope people enjoy it as much as I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think guys, I think it's a no-brainer. Do your thing, right, guys? Look into it, right? Look into it. What it does and how easy and efficient your process can become, right? In the end, it all depends on what kind of setup you have. Preferably not an exchange. The minimum you need to have is in a hot wallet. I would never recommend that, but at least try to take it away from there. You still have the control, but you move it to a cold wallet. Then you want to have, and without getting technical, but if you do multi-sig self custody, that's amazing. And with another passphrase on top, solid, right? Uh,
Oh, there's another thing. I just
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
that we will also, I mean, it's already actually on the website, but with the new version, it's even better. You can also, if you have a passphrase and you have
Mm,
a wallet, you can stamp your seed phrase on one washer and your passphrase on another one. And you can even use special characters. So if you, for example, have password manager, like Proton or like whatever you're using,
mm,
you can now use a master password with like special characters and numbers and everything, and you can also put that on a washer. So like even
uh,
even protecting your IT security infrastructure, it's super easy.
mm,
And once you have the device, like I still use the OG version because it's perfect. It works. You use the version 2, the version 3 will
mm,
come out. It doesn't really matter what version you have. We will give options on the website, like buy like the IT security upgrade, and all of a
yeah.
sudden you can stamp all passwords. I mean, even you could even type your email addresses and your passwords on washers, or just like the master
Mm,
pass or your password manager. So I'm super excited about it because I feel like even if you hate Bitcoin, you should
mm,
still own a microseed for your master password for your IT security setup. So, but that's a whole
mm.
lot of thing. I don't know how many people watch you that hate Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I hope not. I hope not. And but also I think it's just a super cool device to have. Even if I just have that, like if I have it on my, with my couple of souvenirs or memorabilia here, and I have this, it just looks because if somebody's here, right, come to my office and they're like, hey, what's this? That's it. That's a conversation starter, right? I mean, most people in our space would know this anyway, hopefully. And then you explain to people, and then it intrigues them, and then they go and start, you know, do their own research. And Robin, you could give your opinion as well. I think any setup for self custody, whether you're a beginner who's holding a very small amount, or you're a long term holder with meaningful savings, or you're a family who's protecting your generational wealth, everyone should self custody their assets. The only way to get away from the traditional stream finance is self custody. That's the only exit, is what I think. And you need to go with the times. As Robin mentioned a while ago, the horse salesman. Yep, he could go and still sell his horses for other stuff, right? But his primary business was selling horses for people to use as carriages or as the mode of transport. Now, if his primary livelihood got cut because the new tech comes in, right now, I know, like, because I'm Gen Y or millennial, you Gen Z, so I understand Gen X might, and many Gen X may not, but a lot of Gen X will have a lot of trouble with these kind of setups, right? But it's not that complicated that you would not understand eventually, because I think at one point of time they would have done a lot of similar things at the bank, like having a account using checks and passbooks and storing these checks and passbooks. And nowadays nobody uses it. Like if I see something, it's like an antique. So for me, the amount does not matter, right? What amount you're holding in there. Because if somebody asked me, I would say move it, take it into your account. No matter how good the exchange is, no matter how big, whoever it is, it does not matter. Because every exchange has a fiduciary responsibility, and they can stop withdrawals, stop transactions if the government tells them to do so. What the government cannot do is forcibly take your Bitcoin from your self custody setup, at least for now. And And yeah, so what do you think? Is
It's a
that, do you
lot
think
harder, like it's
it's a lot?
for the government to go to Coinbase and get 1.2 million Bitcoin. It's easier.
Mm,
I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier for the
yeah.
government to rip 1.2 million Bitcoin from hundreds of thousands of people or like millions of people all around the world or all around the nation. It's almost impossible. Even with the order 6102 of America with gold, it was not that easy. It was not like it was a process. And with Bitcoin, it's even harder because you you cannot see it. The government can show up and you're like, yeah, I don't have it anymore, or I lost it, or how do you even know you have it? Like it's they cannot prove it, they cannot do it, and I don't think the government will knock on every single door and ask you about the Bitcoin. Like
Mm,
it's a stretch. I don't think this will actually happen. It could, but it's a lot of harder work for the
yeah.
government to do that, and that's why I'm saying the social layer is so important because we need to
Mm,
go out there and advocate for Bitcoin and be advocates for Bitcoin, for nice policies and all of those things, because the political layer can really destroy a lot of things. I don't know if you've known that, but there's a red flag act in Great Britain that was before the 1900s. And the Red Flag Act said a car cannot operate without a person walking in front of the car and waving with a red flag to say that there's a car coming. It's a ridiculous law. It has no use case whatsoever. And it made the car innovation completely stop in Great
mm,
Britain because nobody in their right mind would operate a car under that construct. You needed three people to operate a car. You needed the red
yeah.
flag man, you need the operator, you need the owner, you need all of those people to just operate one car. Who would do that in their right mind if you can also do it without? And now you don't even need, now funny enough,
Yeah.
there's self-driving cars, you don't even need like one person to do it. And so that law was there not for 1 or 2 years. It was there for 31 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I'm saying
Mm,
the social layer, we making our voice heard in Bitcoin is very important. Go to meetups, go to conferences, tell your local politician that Bitcoin is a very important topic for you. That makes
mm,
all the difference.
yeah.
Like if you're voting for a person, write them an email saying,
Mm,
I love Bitcoin. What's your stand on Bitcoin? Why is your stand on Bitcoin like that? Because
mm,
Bitcoin is for me one of the most important topics in the political area. So like just like small actions like that make all the difference. You don't want to be in a situation where
yeah.
your local region has ridiculous Bitcoin laws, which can happen.
Mm,
And it just affects the people that live there. It doesn't affect Bitcoin. To be very clear, the Bitcoin innovation cannot be stopped, but the people that own Bitcoin in a certain jurisdiction can be stopped. And so you don't want to be in a jurisdiction where this is going to happen. So either voting with your feet and going away or fighting with your local politicians are your
mm.
two best options to kind of make your voice heard.
Good point. I do believe that, yeah, at this point, it could be a stretch that the government may not individually knock on everyone's door who's holding Bitcoin, and obviously, it's only for those ones who have the KYC Bitcoin. But what about the people who have the non KYC Bitcoin? Plus, it's just too much of work and effort and manpower at this point of time. But it's not something that could be dismissed in the future, right? That's especially in certain countries, I believe. But again, and this is where your self custody setup really matters. And Robin, what information do you think a spouse or partner should know, and what should remain separated? I'm not going into technicality, but how can someone create and this is for the viewers who don't understand this, how can someone create an inheritance plan without exposing their seed phrase prematurely, right? Should recovery instructions be stored with the backup or separately? How frequently should their inheritance plan be reviewed? And I get it. Everyone has their own way of doing things. Like I have a certain way of doing things. You may have, and everyone has their own. What's your viewpoint on this?
How do I tackle that? So, like, first of all, whatever setup you have, test it, review it as much as you can. A lot of self custody setups are muscle memories, but it's very hard to give advice around what's your exact setup because if I really would give advice, I first would need to ask every single person that would take the advice 100 different questions, 200 different questions to figure out what is actually the best setup. So it's different from person to person. It's different because we have different life situations. Some people have great connections with the family, some people don't. Some people have not even the opportunity of like having someone else in there, and they have to think about different setups. Some people want to work with banks or like lawyers to set something up in a trust to give it to kids. Some people don't want to deal with that at all. And so there is just too many questions and too many variables to actually give advice on that matter. And so what I would tell people is there are great educational materials out there, and there is AI also now out there, and there are great services out there. So educational materials, I mean, Ben from BTC Session, he's a great guy. He talks a lot about all those things and gives like in-depth tutorials. But there are many other ones that do also similar things. Then there is services like, for example, the Bitcoin Way. I work with them a lot. You can just go to bitcoinway.com/Robin, and you see, you can book a call with them for free for 30 minutes. They walk you through all those things, and they do exactly what I just said. They ask you like 100,000 different questions to figure out what is the best setup for you, and like where do you want to go with that. Because it's not a one size fits all thing. And there are other things you can do. But one thing I want to stress is review as much as possible and test as much as possible. If you, for example, let's just say you have a very simple setup. You have just like a hardware wallet and you have a seed phrase on the micro seed. Imagine you don't have that hardware wallet anymore. Like it breaks down, water goes on it, like whatever happens. Go through the process of recovering those Bitcoin with the seed phrase, because you don't want to be in a situation where you did all the work and you never tested it. Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe something happened. So test, like review, test, do the muscle memory, and keep everything in check. If you have a multisig, like, or you have some keys, test the keys at least twice a year. Like four times a year is probably better. Even more, like you can do a monthly routine, you can do a weekly routine. Like the more reviews and testing you do in the security branch, the better it is, because it trains the muscle memory. Muscle memory means less chance of you making mistakes. And yeah, it can be challenging, because I know people that have custody setups where a key is in a different country. Yeah, you probably not gonna visit that country every week, but like do it as often as you can, and think about your setup, think about the attack vectors that you're exposed to. A person like me has a different attack vector, like a person that is not known whatsoever. But just think about all the things that can potentially get your Bitcoin lost, stolen, hacked, whatever, and see how you can prevent those. And AI can help you. The Bitcoin Way, the service, can help you. Ben from BTC Session, like just watching the videos, can help you. So there's all the materials out there that you need, but it's very hard to like think about every different person and like see like general advice. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, but well said, man. It's exactly like, guys, nobody else is going to do your reps in the gym for you. For you, you are going to do that. Nobody's going to do your sets and reps. Similarly, nobody else is going to take care of your self custody rather than yourself. I mean, what's the whole point? Are we truly sovereign if our families are financially stranded when we are gone?
It's
Question that we
actually
should think about.
it's actually a really nice comparison, like the training and workout. It's like if someone asks you what is the best workout, and like, yeah, you can probably give some advice of like you should do this and you should this. But if you want to give good advice, really great advice, the first questions would be like, what's your goal? How much time can you allocate to workout? If you only have 3 hours a week, it looks very different. If you have 10 hours a week to have 20 hours a week for workouts, then it's also like diet. Like what should you eat? Like, yeah, maybe you're religious and you don't want to eat cows, or you don't want to eat meat, or you have an allergy and you cannot eat a certain thing. So it's like with all of those advice, you can give advice with like what's good in workouts, what is good in diet, what is good for Bitcoin self custody. But if you really want to dig deep and like have a great setup, you need either someone coaching you and helping you individually, or you
Yeah.
need really dive deeper. And now with AI, like AI helps a lot because it's almost
Mm,
like a personal coach to a certain degree. Just don't feed it. I just want to say the obvious thing out loud. Just don't feed
mm.
it the information where you store your Bitcoin. Like
Yeah, definitely not.
AI should not know how to get to your Bitcoin
Yeah.
whatsoever. That's that's that would be a horrible mistake because not because AI will get your Bitcoin,
Mm,
but the company behind could get to your Bitcoin, which is less likely actually. The more likely
mm,
thing is someone hacks in your OpenAI or Anthropic account, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, he talked here about self custody. Oh, that's basically an instruction of like how to get to his
mm.
Bitcoin." So
Yeah.
I just want to say the obvious out loud. Don't tell your AI how to get to your Bitcoin. You can use AI in a way to get advice how to store your Bitcoin without doxing yourself, without doing it.
Mm,
So yeah, with that topic, it's also yeah, getting a service, getting educated. Don't trust AI fully. AI is an
yeah.
amazing tool. I use it every single day, multiple times a day, but it's not just like, how do I do self custody? And it spits an answer
Mm,
out, and that's what I use. Not like it's not that simple. So like you really have to prompt it, like give it context and all of that. So yeah,
yeah.
it's a very important kind of small thing that I want to put out there.
I agree with that 100%. Guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not going to come from the future and take your Bitcoin. It's more like as Robin mentioned, the company stores your data, right? Every platform, whichever you're using, does not matter whether it's chat, whatever, man, Gemini, Perplexity, doesn't matter. They have a file on you. Whatever information you're feeding it, they're actually in the back end creating a file. Go ahead and put a prompt and ask the agent to tell about yourself. What file do they have about you? They will actually give you your personality traits or whatever you fed them. So you definitely do not want to give any kind of information, such confidential information, which you would not give to anyone else outside anyway. Like you would not give your bank account information to anyone. It's the same concept. So, Robin, that's a very good point. I'm just gonna in the interest of time, I'm gonna just dive onto some other areas. So, going back to microseed, right? What specific problem led to the creation of microseed, and how did you and the other founders decide that existing seed storage solutions were not sufficient? And after that, what was harder? Was it designing a secure product or earning the trust from Bitcoiners?
That's amazing questions. First of all, I have to give credit to Daniel, who actually started the microseed project. He came up with the design. He came up with like he went through the problem, and I'll tell you why he came up with that. He had a different product before, and the other products are very hard to like you have to kind of put a lot of strength on the plate, and then it's also
Mhm.
bulky, it's big, and all of that.
Yeah.
And he hit his finger multiple times with the with the hammer because he had to like go harder, and if you go harder, you're more likely to like miss. And I think that was literally why why we came up with the microseed, because he tried to like 3D print something, but it was never good. And then he tried to like do it himself, and all of a sudden he had a product, and was like, oh, maybe other people also like it. And that's literally how it started. Then he went to Vegas. In Vegas we met, and people actually liked it. He sold a bunch, and then we were like, okay, let's work together. There's a third party involved, Fritz from Bitcoin Liberty Live. He has a small podcast running, and then I made the whole marketing thing, the website, and all of that, the affiliate partnerships and stuff like that going. And he kind of then is kind of pushing the product itself forward, trying to figure out new things. He's the head of operations and all of that. So that's literally how it started. Now, for your second question, how what is harder, doing the solution or bringing the solution to people? So first, the solution was harder. The whole ecosystem around it, shipping it, the website, the product itself, like this was a very hard, was a lot of hard work to get to this stage that we are in right now. But then now we have the product, we have the shipping, we have everything set up, and it's really nice. It took a year. It took a
Right.
long year to like get the product like set up properly. And now actually it is the biggest thing is like, how do we get it from a few units per year per month, a few hundred units per month to like a few thousand units per month to sell to like more people? To how do we get more people into proper self custody? That's the main question. And so that's actually now the bigger thing that we are focusing on, like at least me. Daniel is also like still developing the product, doing all the shipping things. And we just want to bring the price down for everyone. And we want to have the best possible product. And so that's what kind of like Daniel is focusing on. And I try to focus on like, how do we get to more people? How do we like get out of like a small bubble? Yeah. So I think at first the product is harder. And then once the product is finished and nice, and now we're on the further version that will soon be released. Now the marketing and getting to people is actually the harder part, even though it
Mm.
actually spreads a little bit virally. So it's like people like it, and then like they tell other people like,
Yeah,
"Hey, I get microset, it's really good." Like it
organic.
spreads because people really like the product. So having a good product really helps with selling a product. I mean, that's the most obvious sentence I said today, I think.
No, and that makes sense, right? Like if you are bound to get an organic promotion from consumers who would have tested your product, and if they like it in the first place, they would go ahead and advocate the product to their friends and families and anyone around, or even on social media platforms. And unpaid free advertising, word of mouth is the best promotion. And if it's a good product, y- your job is done. They will do the rest. And all you peeps who are listening or watching, you heard it first. Version 3 is coming out soon. So, yes, wait for that. Moving on to, and thanks for that. Thanks for that answer. In your podcasting journey, right? You've done like gazillions of episodes, but what did your first 50 odd episodes get wrong? And what becomes very apparent after hundreds of interviews?
You mean
Do
from
you
like a podcasting
early
stance or
days?
like Bitcoin?
No, not really Bitcoin sense as such, but more like for someone who, so for like, I'll explain that, right? For someone like me, like the reason I started this was because in a lot of space and communities that I deal with, I found there was a lot of disparity in terms of the people's understanding of money. I went around, for instance, at one time, I went around a gym. It was a massive, big gym to different age cohorts. So someone who's like 18, 19 to someone who's about 55, 60. So everyone in between as well. And I spoke to well established entrepreneurs, individuals who are successful in their life, and students and single parents. And I was shocked to see that nobody actually understood money at all, or for that matter, a basic concept of inflation. And then when I got that response, then I was like, okay, there's not even any point of asking about Bitcoin, but I'm still going to ask anyway. So have you heard about Bitcoin? Do you know what Bitcoin is? And majority of them had no clues. Only a couple of people were like, oh yeah, I heard about it. So awesome. Do you have any? Have you looked into it? Oh no, no, no. Okay. So, and that's when for me, it was like, I need to pass on the information as much as I could. And I do that in real life too, not just this I get to speak with more individuals like yourself and other people in the space and share their journey, and so we could spread the orange glow together. Did you get anything wrong, or what becomes very very apparent after you've done hundreds of shows?
For any venture that you start, don't expect to be good in it after 1, 2 years. You need a very long time to figure everything out. Most successful companies need about like 10 years plus to get successful. And a podcast is not different. The things I've learned in the first 1 year were very good and informed and was good for me to develop the second year. And now I'm in my third year and it's even better. Even though it's in a bear market, the podcast is going better than ever because I already have 2 years of learning. And so whenever you start doing something, you notice that you think you know how something works, but you really don't. And it accumulates over time where you get better in something. It accumulates over time where you get to be on a point where it really gets to be an exponential growth. And so you have to get the reps in, you have to get the years in, you have to get all those knowledge things that you really want to have on and really need to be successful in podcasting, but that's literally for everything in first. And I think Seyr talks about that actually a lot, that laser focus on like one thing. And if you're not focused on that thing, if you're not doing that one thing, you kind of lose yourself. You're getting distracted, you're getting out of whack, you're not as focused on it anymore. And so it's extremely, extremely important that you stay focused and learn with every new episode. And the first episode was horrible compared to the second episode. Second episode was horrible compared to the 20th, and so on. So you get better in having a conversation. You get a more knowledge on Bitcoin. You get better in producing the episode after you filmed it. You form better
Mm.
connection with more people. All of a sudden, more people want to be on your show. So people reach out to you to be on the show, and you don't have to reach out to them to be on the show. So there's all those effects that you gather over time that you can only gather if you are very focused on it for a very long time and have that laser focus on it and stay consistent and keep on learning from it. Because most people deviate right before they get to success. They think they hit a roadblock, they think they cannot get further, they get burned out, and they don't want to go anymore. And so it's like it happens a lot, unfortunately.
Very well said, man. Consistency is key, guys. It's still an advantage. You have to be consistent, even though production has become easier through AI and stuff. But it's exactly like I relate this analogy to training a lot, Robin. There are no shortcuts. There is everything can happen only through a long term mindset. If you have a certain physique or whatever desired goal that you want to reach to, whether it's losing weight, gaining muscle, whatever, you have a certain physique of a person you want to, you cannot expect to achieve that in a very short time period, right? You have to work towards it. So instant gratification is not going to happen. So yes, consistency is the key. I really like that. I really like that point. Robin, what does Bitcoin reveal to you about the relationship between money and political power? Do you think will or does Bitcoin fix institutions, or does it allow people to depend less on institutions?
Those institutions are there for a very long time, and they work since a very long time, and they are very conservatively built out so they can survive for a very long time. And so if you think about that and you think about how new Bitcoin is and how it will shape the world, it will definitely change things, but it will not be as fast as some people might like it, and it will not be as strong as some people might like it, but it will change a lot because it's the first time we have digital property rights. It's literally changing the game. So like if you think about a game and it's always played the same way, when all of a sudden the game gets a different set of rules, the game changes of it, and Bitcoin is that different set of rules, and with that the political game will be different. So let's say if you're playing chess, for example, you know how the pawn moves, you know how the queen, the rooks, and the knights move. And so that is a certain amount of the game playing and the game theory. And the pawn is not that powerful. He can only get power if he promotes to a queen or promotes to a rook or promotes to something more powerful if he reaches the other side of the board. That is the current setup, let's say. Let's say most people are pawns, then there's some rooks, there's some knights, and there's some kings and queens. The kings and queens would be probably somewhere with like Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the powerful and rich people. Then there's like the rooks, the knights, and we might be pawns. We might be resources of pawns. We might be even like smaller things of the pawns. We might not even be pawns. But what if we equal the playing field? What if the pawns and the knights all of a sudden have the same property rights? And it's no longer higher up the chain. So for example, if I'm Elon Musk, I have more property rights than a lot of people because I have space travel, I have my Tesla thing, I have all of those things. I have an army of lawyers that can defend my property rights. I don't have that. I don't have a single lawyer. I might need a lawyer, but like I don't have a single lawyer till now. I never needed one. And so if you have that, my property rights are not as nicely protected as Elon Musk's property rights. Not even closely. But if you have both Bitcoin, those property rights are the same for him than to me. It's just about knowledge and education. It's no longer about money. I can just watch videos, ask AI, and have the same, maybe even a better property right around Bitcoin than Elon Musk has. And that thing changes the game. That's completely new. And so what will that do to the political system? Everything like that. Like it's hard to predict, it's like going back to the car analogy. Like the first time the car came around, what did it change in the political system? Like a lot. or nothing. The printing press, like what did it change when people all of a sudden got educated because there were books printed? It changed a
Mm,
lot and also nothing. Like it's really hard to imagine what the system will look like if the game has been changed. But I
mm,
think we'll probably always have some sort of political system. It's just that all the pawns, all the plebs that we are, will have a lot more power. And with that, we will be closer to the rooks and the knights and the queens.
mm,
So I think that's the best analogy I can make with like where we end up with Bitcoin. And that's also another, one more time, I'll say it, get self custody, because without that, you don't have the same property rights. You don't have superior property rights.
mm.
So
You have no
very,
rights.
very important.
You have no rights, man. No self custody, you have no rights. Someone else has your rights. So, on that explanation, Robin, can Bitcoin remain politically neutral while its consequences are, could be disruptive, politically disruptive?
It is
Neutral.
always politically neutral. It cannot be not political neutral because it's an open protocol that doesn't care who uses it. Even if, let's say, nobody on the left side of the aisle is using it and is hating on it, and everyone on the right side of the aisle is loving it and is embracing it, even at that point, it wouldn't be a political right tool. It would be a neutral tool. It's
Mm,
the same question of like, is the internet, is the TCP IP protocol right or left? Can it be politically co-op? Like it's a protocol. It's a, it's a set
yeah.
of rules that can be applied to anything. And so a set of rules, a set of a protocol can never be political. It's always neutral. So it's politically neutral, but it's very political because it reaches in all of those different layers. And so
Mm,
I predict, I mean, in America, you already see it now, but I predict that everywhere around the world, Bitcoin will be in the next 10 years a very big topic in the political realm. People will talk about it. People have to talk about it. And so, yeah, like absolutely, it is political neutral and it will always stay like that because it has there's no human in in it. It's just, even if every single person in Bitcoin would have the same worldview and political views, which is absolutely not the case. I talked with far left and far right people and conservative and liberals in Bitcoin. Like they're all, every single political spectrum ideology is represented in Bitcoin. Like there's not a single political spectrum that is not represented in Bitcoin. I found them all. Even in my podcast, you will see people that love Trump and hate Trump. That there are people that
mm,
even love Joe Biden, and I had a guy on that was collecting money for Kamala Harris, and is a solid Bitcoiner. There is no political view that is not represented in Bitcoin today. But even if that wouldn't be the case, even if, let's say, every single Bitcoiner loves Trump and everyone hates Kamala Harris and all the Democrats and they're all Republicans, even then, Bitcoin itself would be politically neutral. It's a protocol. It is what it is. So it's like you can't put something on that. So 100% it's political neutral and will always stay like that.
amazing, man. Yeah, Robin, did growing up in Austria influence your interest in Austrian economics?
That's a fun question because I learned about Austrian economics from Seyr. So when he mentioned Austrian economics, like I remember, I think it was Seyr and Seyr like talking on a podcast together. And I remember them talking and I was thinking to myself, why are they keep talking about Austria? I like Austria has no special like it's not that good. Like it's the same as Germany. Like it's, why do they keep talking about Austria? And I was researching, I was like, Austrian economics. Like they're talking about Hayek and all of those. Like it's not the current economics of Austria. It's a philosophy. It's Austrian economics. So it is very fun. Like I also watched the Sailor speech on the weekend, and he literally had Austrian written on his slide because he could explain like how he looks at money and like between like the fiat worldview and the Austrian worldview. It's a fun thing to be an Austrian guy in the
Mm,
Bitcoin space because it's Austria. Everyone knows Austria because of the Austrian economics in Bitcoin. But Yeah, to answer your question, I had curiosity for it as soon as I heard it because it's my own country. But
Mm.
without Bitcoin, I probably would have never heard about Austrian economics. And I even studied economics in Austria for like a year. Never heard about Austrian economics. I didn't finish my studies. I just was there for 1 year. But this is, yeah, it's one heck of a thing. Living in Austria, never hearing about Austrian economics.
We're going to end the show on some quick rapid fire questions. I probably know all the answers, what you're going to say, but maybe some not. So let's check. So, Robin, this is just on your thoughts. So, single sig or multi sig?
Or multisig,
12 words or 24?
24.
Exchange withdrawal, immediate or at a certain threshold?
At a certain threshold.
Most underestimated threat to a Bitcoiner?
Social engineering online.
Most overrated security practice?
That one might be controversial. And it also depends on where you live. But I'm just going to say it, protecting against physical threats, someone coming up and like beating the shit out of you. It's very rare. And for some reason, Bitcoiners are super extremely fearful of that. And it can happen. It can happen to me,
Yeah.
which would be the most ironic thing ever. I'm saying it's the most overrated thing, and that happens to me. And obviously, it's different in different parts of the world. There are parts of the world that are more dangerous and parts of the world that are less dangerous. But if you look at all the statistics, you're most likely to use your Bitcoin through social engineering online somewhere, and they're really getting good. I always almost fell for one at Bitcoin Prague, which was fun to experience. I didn't, but I almost. It was the closest one. Someone almost got me. And it was not to access my Bitcoin. They just would had access to my phone, which would also be a pain in the ass. But if you have the access to my phone, you don't really have any access to the Bitcoin. But the social engineering part is the most dangerous part to Bitcoiners. And the physical threat one is a real one. Like, think about it, especially if you have a country where those things happen more often than in others. But it might be overrated because people are so fearful. They are anonymous. They're like doing all that shit. And it might not be as much of a threat as some people might think. That might be controversial, but yeah, I don't care.
No, not controversial at all, man. Best interview you have conducted
Jeff Booth, my first one with him, 100%. They changed my life.
and most difficult one?
The ones that I don't publish, there are about 5 to 10 episodes that are never published. And any of those are probably difficult because in the beginning, I did a lot of podcast episodes with people that maybe have never been on a podcast before.
Yeah.
And some of them have really never been on a podcast before. And they came on and they couldn't speak a single sentence. Like it was just like, I gave them an answer. They gave like a 5 second, I gave them a question. They gave a 5 second answer. And I'm like,
Okay.
so like that like was not really coming something. But it was a lot of fun doing that because I also
Mhm.
experienced a lot of people that have never been on a podcast, and all of a sudden they are so cool. They speak nicely. Like I was like, oh shit, like he speaks on a really good level. And it was great connections. Like some of them that I've never published actually became friends of mine. And so yeah, I don't regret doing it. It's just from a podcasting perspective, a lot harder to do those. So I have a certain threshold that I'm like, I want to get beyond that threshold of an interesting guest, an interesting topic.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't reach that, I don't want to publish it, which is always a hard conversation to have.
Yeah, that's that's a very unique one though. Like what you mentioned, I would have never thought about it like that. But that makes sense. If somebody who's not familiar of how to react or how to respond to that space, and they are maybe more introverted as an individual, and one guest you still want on the podcast.
Might also be an controversial one, but I'm a Tesla fan, and Tesla holds Bitcoin. SpaceX holds Bitcoin. And he's the richest man alive, the first trillionaire in the world. I mean, I would absolutely love Elon Musk to be on my podcast. That would be the biggest thing for me ever. Like if he somehow comes on my podcast, on that I'd probably cry. That would mean the freaking world to me that if he comes on my podcast. Another fun guy would be Arnold Schwarzenegger, just because a lot of people compare me with the voice to him. So it would just be a meme. I don't
Yeah.
know about his stance on Bitcoin. I never really researched if he ever talked about it. I'm not even a big fan of his, which is fun. I just like it would just be a fun meme for the internet to do. And then a few people that I haven't even asked to be on my podcast, but I want them to be on my podcast is like Jack Mallers and Lynn Alden and some of them. So I cannot I haven't even asked them, so I cannot even really say I really wish they would be on my podcast because I haven't done a single action towards that. But yeah,
Mhm.
Elon Musk is
Top.
probably the top one I really want to have on my podcast one day. And I hope my podcast grows fast enough and big enough for that to be the
Yeah.
case one day. A Bitcoin book everyone should read. Yeah, I mean, the Bitcoin standards is such a boring answer. Does the sovereign individual count as a Bitcoin book?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I say the Bitcoin standard, the big print, and the sovereign individual.
Mm.
I'll cheat out and give you free books.
That's good. Those are, yeah, awesome. And one Bitcoin skill that Bitcoiners should develop.
How to formulate ideas so it is interesting and understandable for other human beings. Like basically how to sell something. And this is a weird one because people will naturally object to that thing and say, I don't want to be a salesperson.
Mm.
But I would argue every single person on planet Earth is a salesperson. They might just not be aware of it. And so
Mm.
what I mean by that is if you go out in the world and you say, hey, I want to be a plumber, you have to sell yourself either sell yourself, that sounds horrible. But like you have to sell the idea of you being a plumber for
Mm.
company, or you have to sell your services to like individuals. Even if you are, even if you go out of the office, well, let's say you inherited very rich and you just never had money problems, you never work, you don't have to do any of that shit. You have to sell yourself to a woman, to a man, because you want to have a partner. And that is also in a way selling and like formulating ideas, making an God, that sounds so horrible. But make an interesting pitch, like being interesting personality. So one
Mm.
skill I find underdeveloped in the Bitcoin ecosystem is formulating ideas in a very coherent and understandable and interesting way for other people to understand what you mean and be on your side. Funny enough, if we are all getting better in that, we are also getting better in orange pilling people, and we also are getting Bitcoiner faster out there. So if you start developing one trade, that would be it, because that's a skill. The other thing in my mind was stay curious, because that's really
Mm.
important, but that's not really a skill. I wouldn't count it as a skill.
And what does proof of work mean to you in your personal life?
Showing up every single day, showing up for your wife, to be there for her, showing up for your body, going for a walk, doing some cardio, doing some strength training, getting the right ingredients in your body, eating healthy food, showing up for your friends, calling them, showing up for your career, working on your career, your company, your entrepreneurship, your whatever you're doing, showing up for all the different things that you do in your life. That's
Mm.
proof of work. That's putting in the thing that you should put in. So proof of work has many different layers and many different phases, but showing up might just be the perfect way to explain it.
Perfect answer, man. Can't get better than that. Robin, this was such an awesome chat for me. Really, really appreciate you taking out your time. I know it was a busy schedule. Robin, is there any other place that people want you that you're available? Such.
I don't know. Twitter, YouTube are the two main platforms. If you're a
Yep.
Spotify guy, my podcast is also on Spotify. If you're Apple guy, the podcast is also on Apple Podcast. If you're Fountain guy, the podcast is also on Fountain. But yeah, YouTube and Twitter is kind of like my two main platforms that I like and love and open every single day. Comment, reply, and also get back to people that write me. I see every single message, I see every single comment. Don't reply to everything.
And yeah, show Robin some love. And if you like this one, you show some love here as well. That would be awesome. Guys, as we say always on this channel, stack sats, build strength, and own your life. And Robin, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm really looking forward when this drops out. It was a lovely conversation.
Thanks, Robin.